They have the live audience. The only thing I know is about really fucking
Stephen Andrews. Attention. Stephen Andrews.
He's going to sit out on this panel.
I know he is.
Jeff, he'll come in once he's... Okay. Hey. All right, sure. Sounds good, thanks. Today I'm going to just talk about the season finale and all of the backstory behind how that episode was created. So it should be interesting. Tomorrow we're going to talk about general stuff. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's not going to be too many because everyone's over there, so we'll have our own little thing here. Yeah.
If you guys see me on the ground, help me up. Actually, yes.
We'll wait a couple more minutes, but then we'll start pretty soon. So how's everyone enjoying the con so far? Yeah, so this panel was going to be Steph and I think we're going to do that tomorrow because the stuff I was going to talk about today is mostly about the season finale and the stuff that led up to the season finale because there's a whole history that took place, which is kind of interesting. Not really, I'm just warming up. Oh yes, I sold my bugle to Mike.
Yeah, so I'm a trumpeter, and I was in Vancouver right when he was moving offices, and so I said, "Do you have any old brass instruments you're trying to get rid of?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And so for the price of a coffee and a little bit more, I bought his old busted up bugle, and I still haven't been able to identify it. I'm sorry.
It's pretty ancient, that thing.
It is.
Every part of it was pretty. Had very few distinguishing features about it.
It was missing just a solid half of actual tubing. You can't play it.
Little compressed piece of metal.
But I get the distinct pleasure of being able to say I own Daniel Ingram's bugle, which I think I like to claim because I'm an arrogant bastard. I like to claim that it's it's the closest thing to a Canon pony flugelhorn there probably ever will be, right?
Mm-hmm. It did have certain qualities. The bell was all bent in, so it kind of looked unique.
It had a very nice patina. Mm-hmm. Well, so anyway, everybody, Daniel Ingram.
Thank you. And thank you for coming here and not being with the big crowd. He wants to hear about BronyCon documentary and John Delancey, which I'd love to check out too. But anyways, thank you for coming. Hopefully it'll be worth your while.
I think that's the problem this convention's had. They have so many awesome people and only so much time to schedule people in, and so it's definitely been running around for all of us.
Yeah, there's a lineup for Tara Strong's signature happening right now too.
Already?
So there's anyone who needs to get in that line, I understand.
This is the waiting area for the line.
Yeah, this is actually that would have been a really good plan. They just should have lined it up through here. And you would have sort of picked up.
That would kind of make you like a roadside attraction, though.
Yeah, that's okay.
Pit stops with Daniel Ingram. Well, so anyway, Daniel, you are of course the main song composer for My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, a little show, small impact, mild internet following. But you recently had an episode that just aired, the season finale, which I know you want to talk about, and I know these guys want to hear about, which was a glorious musical. I mean, I just want to start off by giving you at least some applause for that, because it was quite a feat. So I guess my question then is, how did you approach, you had a season finale, and in that season finale, things had to happen to Twilight. Wings had to happen to Twilight, maybe?
Well, I'm going to go back a little further. Okay, so they had, I know we'd always discussed, okay, in season 3, let's try to do a musical. And the premise for that musical was unclear. And then what they do with any season of a cartoon show is they create treatments. So they'll plan out the entire season in sort of one-page bursts. Like, well, this will be this episode, and so on and so on. And some treatments had been made for different musicals, and there's some really interesting ideas that had come up. But then all of a sudden, none of them got approved, and now we were at the 13th episode, and it was like, okay, well, I guess that's going to have to be the musical. And so that was sort of how that happened. And then the premise was put forth in this treatment that all the, that Twilight's, all these cutie marks. I assume everyone's seen the season finale. Okay.
Well, I have a quick question for you before you go too far into that. Whose idea was it to have the musical? Was that something you were pushing for?
Well, no, it was something that I guess it just sort of appeared. Like, I mean, they've been saying this since season 1. Like, we should do a musical because the songs are such a big part of the show. And so that executives just at Hasbro had always just been saying this would be a great thing to do. And so the writers were aware of this expectation to do it at some point. And so we were just looking for a medium in which to do it. And then somehow it fell onto episode 13. And we were really concerned about this because not only was suddenly like, okay, well, Twilight's got to get wings, and how is she going to do that? Well, and then the idea was put forward, I think it was maybe by Meghan, that, okay, well, they're all going to switch cutie marks. And then she'll turn them back. And so we were really concerned about this, honestly, because I was like, well, a musical probably should be something funny and something kind of silly and probably something without a ton of important plot points to get through, because really they're just going to sing a bunch of fun songs, and let's make it like that. So when I did read it, I said, can we please, like, let's try to make this, let's put musical on episode 12 instead of 13. And the directors and all of us were all a little bit concerned, honestly, because we wondered how we were going to make this work, because it's a very dramatic story point, and they thought, well, she's going to get wings, maybe we should make that a movie, or maybe it should be a two-parter, and maybe we shouldn't get distracted by a bunch of songs. So you understand the kind of challenge, the position you get put in there, where you're like, well, now it's all coming down to this, and we have to find a way to make it work. So that's how it got started. And the way the writers work is the scripts are all written, and then it gets handed off to me for the songs, and then it gets recorded with the voice actors, and then it gets animated. So there's this sort of disconnect in a way as it goes through the linear phase. So I had the script, and we had some meetings and tried to figure out how to work. And I had 1 week to write all the songs. So I said, okay, well, that's one song a day for 7 days. And it was a Christmas in 2000. It was Christmas in 2011, and so fortunately we had a Christmas break. And generally with these shows, I work on 4 shows, and we do one every single week, sometimes 2 a week. So it's such an intense turnover that just getting a week off is kind of unique. And I said, well, this week is going to have to now be doing this. So I locked myself in my place. And the first song appears. I'm just going to talk about the episode. So the first song that appears in that musical is the Morning in Ponyville song. And that was actually a much longer song. And it was really authentic to Mitch's script. And in that song, the whole town starts to sing. And so she's going through town, and she's singing this, and they all join in. And it was written, and it was actually about maybe 40 seconds longer or something than what had appeared in the episode. But we recorded that, and then and then that had to sort of be put, okay, that's one done. And eventually got chopped down because of everything that had to get fit in. And then we got to the next song, and already I was like, well, wait a sec, this Cutie Mark song is a really convoluted idea. Like, we have to write a song, sing a song about trying to explain how each Cutie Mark is now in a different pony, and how it happened. So in the script, it was actually like 5 pages, and it happened in a bunch of little songs all together. And we knew we couldn't do this, and so the Cutie Mark What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me song had to be compressed, and it wasn't called that. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and recording into my phone, What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me. And I woke up the next day to write that song on day 2 and going like, oh, right, I got to compress 5 pages down to 2 and somehow make this one song instead of 5 songs. And that's how that song kind of got born. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
No, I'm not going to interrupt you on this because it's fascinating. I mean, honestly, well, this is something true of the entire series often, that you compose songs and flesh out songs that end up having to get chopped down for the show.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, I was impressed that, I mean, this is a 22-minute episode.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it and as I was hearing the songs as aired, I was in Minnesota actually at a party. I was thinking to myself, Daniel must be tearing his hair out because they had to chop down so much. Or was it more that you knew the framework and you had, say, a time set aside? So you knew, okay, I have 1 minute, 33 seconds or something to fill with music.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really know because how it's all going to play out timing-wise. You just have to hope. And I had a sense as I was going through it, I was adding up the amount of time that it would take. And, you know, with stuff getting chopped, fortunately on this show, very few songs have actually been chopped down. And this happened to 2 songs on this episode, so I'll get to the next one pretty soon. But at this song, it was almost like I had to chop the script down to make a shorter song, and that song couldn't be cut because it was so complicated. And I don't know, do people like that song, the Cutie Mark Telling Me song? Thank you. I really like that. That was actually one of my favorites because it was just so weird. Like harmonically, it's just doing all this weird stuff. And Stefan, who I don't know if he's here, but he's going to be on the panel with me tomorrow. He did the orchestration for that, and it was just he really brought it to another level. And I know this when I brought in Shannon Chan-Kent to sing the demo, she was like, Daniel, what is this? Because it's all chromatic. The whole thing is like all these chromatic lines. But so that was fun. That was a fun challenge, and that was day 2. And then it hit day 3, and it was really like, okay, wait a second. Suddenly we have this problem, which is we have to build this sense of something really bad has happened so that this can justify what comes later, that she's going to get these wings. And so there was the song that Twilight didn't have a song to sing at this point. She didn't have that. What she did was I actually thought it'd be kind of, if this was a longer episode, it would have been really neat to just go into all the, like, exactly how the life's changed, like to go back into the history and say, okay, now all of these, like, what would Equestria be like if they really had switched all the cutie marks? And we started to get in all these, like, deep philosophical conversations. Like, well, how would this work and how would this work? And what if, like, Pinky Pie really grew up on the apple farm and how would this, and we really, like, our minds started to melt, and we just said, okay, we need to not get into the logic too deep, and let's just get through that part. So we needed to find a way to make the emotional impact really important. So Twilight was going to sing a song where she just was going to sing about each of her friends and how much she loves them. So do you remember there's a scene where her and Spike go and she looks at this photo of all of them when they're young, and she gives this little speech, and that's when she has this epiphany. That little speech was condensed from the song that was going to be there. So it was going to be, she was going to look at this picture and sing about all her friends. And it was a very expository song about, you know, their history with each character. And I wasn't crazy about it. And I said, we really need a song here that's going to be something emotional, like that's going to show that this is really bad because we only have 2 minutes for us to feel like this is a serious problem. Otherwise, we're not really going to know it's a serious problem because we don't have time to actually show how a serious problem it is. So the Find a Way song was my attempt to make something like emotional, and that was going to make us feel sympathetic. And now that song shouldn't have gotten cut down. So that was a 2-minute song, and now it's a 1-minute song. So in that 2 minutes, it got, I think, quite a bit deeper into this emotional import.
Well, even in that 1 minute, though, I mean, in my opinion, that's the most powerful song in the entire series. The entire season, I should say. But, I mean, it's definitely up there with the rest of them in the rest of the series. I mean, it had that kind of an impact. And especially the timing of it. I mean, I know that you were working with the structure, but that song ends, and it goes to commercial. And if you were watching that live like I was, it was like, no!
Yeah. Well, that was definitely the idea. Like, we wanted to go to commercial with something, right? right?
Yeah.
So that song, but I guess when it was done, it felt like it was sort of slow and so dark that maybe, so sad that it was just, we didn't want to linger there too long. And also with the storyboard, once it was getting animated, it was like, well, we've kind of run out of material to storyboard after only a minute. So that song got cut down. But I think essentially, yeah, the effect of it came across, fortunately. And there's a beautiful performance by Rebecca. And they just did such a nice job on the animation of that. I really like that sort of sepia tone or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in the scene, she's on her bed looking out the window or whatever, and it's almost like the lighting or whatever, everything. It's very powerful.
It's really well done. So that was that song, and then we went to commercial break, and that was the third day. And so then day 4, I think what happened next was that other song got turned into dialogue, and she sees the picture, and now she has to turn her friend's back. And this wasn't the True True Friend song. That also wasn't a song in the script. That was I'm trying to remember now exactly. This is a long time ago. But anyways, we knew we wanted some kind of thing about how she has to turn them all back again. And this was a really challenging thing. It's like, shoot, we just sung a song about how they switched cutie marks, and now we have to sing a song about switching them back, and it has to explain it as it goes. And so this got even more complicated because you're going, okay, wait, now Fluttershy has to sing to Applejack, to Rainbow Dash, about how she needs to help Rarity so that she can help Applejack, and those cutie, and then it ended up Jason and I had to like draw this map.
Well, and I think actually it's a given that you guys went into it knowing, okay, Twilight's going to become a princess, she's going to have the wings. That episode structure, I mean, and of course this is a whole team effort, but that episode structure could have easily have been, okay, she at the beginning of the episode becomes a princess, and then it's all focused only on that. And what I really liked about the episode, and I know a lot of people I've talked to have really liked about the episode, is that you made a point of featuring all of the characters. Like, yeah, it's a Twilight-focused episode, but it shows that she couldn't be where she was without all the other friends, and and you give each of them literally a voice in the episode.
Well, that was important. I mean, that was certainly part of the script in the beginning. It was like, the magic of friendship is got to be what gives her wings, and they knew that was the impetus the whole time. So that was certainly part of the original vision. It was just trying to make that work. Was the challenge. And so I'll tell you about how she originally got her wings, because that was different.
Okay.
So so then they sing this True True Friend song, which is like kind of a convoluted song because they're all trying to get back. But in the end, I think it's funny. I watched that song live in LA 2 weeks ago with the kids. So it was all the little kids watching it for the Princess Coronation concert. And that song actually was in the context of all these families there was the most effective song in the episode, because they're not really paying attention that much, and everyone's kind of just there and they're young. Mm-hmm. But that song is just so simple and happy that everyone actually got quite into it. So that was really satisfying for me. But so that was kind of a convoluted concept to get across. But we got through that song, and what was going to happen now was all of this light comes off them, and they blast Twilight, and then her wings appear, and then it goes to commercial. And this was a big debate I was having with Meghan at the time, because she really wanted to go to commercial with her unexplained phenomena of these wings appearing. And then Celestia was going to come down and explain it after Act 3 and sing her a song, a very long song that was like about her history and why this happened. And I guess this is where I kind of had a difference. I thought, no, I think we need to. This is such a big transformation. Maybe we need to have her Celestial song come first and bring us into this, so we can try to accept this change rather than just be like, oh, what just happened here? Why? So
it doesn't just go straight from Twilight with wings to Gak.
Yeah, and it just happened in her. Yeah, Gak, exactly. Gak twice or 3 times. How many times did they air that?
Yeah, more than that.
And so and it just happened in her house, or in the library is where it happened. And so all of that was so then this scene with this start of Act 3, this whole scene that happens was very complicated to do, as you imagine. So we said, why don't we create this celestial atmosphere where she's now been transported somewhere else. So just having her disappear should be a pretty good cliffhanger. And so that was changed. And then now she appears in this space, and Celestia's there, and there was a speech written for her. And I think Jason really had a big key role in that speech. And then the music plays, and then we wanted the music to just sort of segue seamlessly into this song where she would tell her how important she was. And I was writing this song thinking about, and all this was a little bit like, there was, at this stage now, because things are being shuffled so much, these lyrics are kind of up in the air. So I thought, well, I started picturing what it would be like for a parent to see their baby like grow up and then leave and move out, and this like empty nest thing that would happen. And so that was sort of, I thought, a really key. I know everyone was really keen for a Celestia song. Right? I mean, everyone was saying, when is Celestia going to sing? When is Celestia going to sing? And I was really excited to have Nicole sing. So that's how that song got born. But it had to be short, too, because we're in this phase now where we're like, oh, wait, we're like really getting to the end of this episode, and we're in Act 3, and she doesn't have her wings yet. And once she gets them, we're going to have to explain something. So it was like, again, it was like, well, how can I do this in a minute and have it be emotionally effective? And so the music had to be, as beautiful as possible to evoke this. And so originally it was just written as piano for that whole 3-minute stretch or whatever it is. And in fact, the piano sketch for the demo lasted until she sort of rises and she floats up in the air and spins and all the lights come in, and then it extended. And I just that was sort of handed over to the animators or the storyboard artists and the directors. And then they came back and then of course they wanted that transformation sequence to be so powerful now that they had to add another 30 seconds to that and have her float down from the sky in this big beam of light. And now she's returned from this sort of celestial space to this magical space down to the real world, and she's suddenly surrounded by her friends where they left her. And so that was really interesting, because it was like, okay, well now a year later, after this song has been written and this piano sketch has been written, tacking on this ending piece, and trying to fit it all to picture. So that was done, and then that was given to Stefan to orchestrate, and he added the choir and the strings and just did such a beautiful job of that. But I think in the end, looking back, I feel like that was a good decision. I felt like that to me is the most satisfying moment in the episode, is actually when she gets her wings. I feel like you kind of like feel like we earned it a little bit more. So I don't know. That's if people disagree with me or not. Yeah, so that's that song, and that was the end of day. I guess that's the end of day 4. And so we got into Act 3 by 4 days, and now Celestia's speech, where she was originally going to sing to her after she got her wings as a song, was now spoken. So that's where she floats down and she talks to her. So that was condensed down to her little speech there, and that's when all her friends bow, and now we have to get to this celebration portion. Do you have any other questions?
It's one of those things where I don't want to interrupt you, but yeah. Well, okay, so going back to when Celestia, or for any of that matter, any of the songs in this episode, I mean, you mentioned that Celestia had a speech, and then that it became a song, or was taken from being a song to being made into a speech. I know that M.A. Larson wrote the original script for the episode, and of course it's a team effort. But how much say did you have in, say, altering the script or the actual words themselves to fit songs, or did you have, say, a set script for example, Celestia's song, and you're given the script and say, okay, she's here, she's going to say this at some point, and now it's a song. I mean, what was your role in changing those lines?
Because I took a huge license.
Okay, you did.
Because I had to, because these were adding songs that weren't in the script, and we were taking away songs that were in the script, and changing them into dialogue. So I don't really write the dialogue. So that would, once I kind of had moved the song and said, well, let's do the song here, someone had to take that dialogue and now make it fit. So I didn't, so the license I took was in the lyrics and the placement of the songs and the concepts behind certain songs that weren't in the script, or vice versa. Some stuff totally stays the way it is. I never try to change the writer's words unless I have to. So, in fact, in the first 2 seasons, I rewrote very few lyrics. And then I only had to sort of, because of this monumental challenge of this episode.
Yeah.
And kind of going, well, Daniel, we want it to be musical, so this is kind of on your shoulders.
Here you go.
And knowing that it was a really hard concept to make into a musical. It wasn't really the musical that I wanted to write at that time. But I knew we had, and we were up against it to make it work somehow. So that I had to take license in this case. There was like the ending of what had happened is then she got her wings, and then there's this like very long song that was her flying with her wings and singing about it, but it was all to the theme of My Little Pony.
This sounds like when you guys originally sketched this out. This was a 4-hour epic.
Yeah, it was.
So we went into hour 7 of her flying, and this is where she flies over Philadelphia. You know,
it fit into half an hour, but it was just so much different. Like,
yeah.
I was reading this, going, oh God, to make the theme song like My Little Pony into like Now I Have Wings or something. It was just like, God.
You know, there was another show that tried doing something similar. It was Star Wars: The Holiday Special. If you haven't seen it, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Princess Leia singing to the Star Wars theme. It's an abomination, but it exists. George Lucas wishes it didn't. But, I mean, so like, how long did that idea survive? Or
Not long. It was there. I mean, it was locked. I mean, that was a locked idea. Like,
really?
Okay, here it is. And those pages were just like, sorry. But that's okay, because that was, I think that was not, I know in Mitch's case, it wasn't his fault. That was something where he gets told this. Like, why don't you make a song and use the theme song? Well, we really want the theme song. I mean, this is something, there's a lot of people who are involved in these creative decisions.
Yeah.
And then there's these sort of individuals that kind of have to do it, make it piece it together. And so at that stage, I was just like, I've been locked in my house for 5 days and writing these songs. Like, I was like dehydrated.
At that point, you're twitching. Ponies.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm like, we only have enough time for maybe another minute worth of songs at this point, because it was very important, I know, to Meghan to have these speeches where Celestia has to say these things. So Celestia has like 3 speeches in this episode. So, and then there's Twilight's speech, and I remember we did have this argument, like, come on, is there too many speeches? Could we cut back on the speeches? But it was critical to get them in. So the songs really had to be short. So we needed, I had argued at this point that we should only have one more song, and that would just be a finale song at the end. But, and that way we could find a way and leave it at 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to do something where she gets like coronated. So that was where that song Princess Twilight cometh. So that didn't exist in the script, but we. But I had this choir that we'd already used in the first song that was going to be put in the Morning in Ponyville song that hadn't been used anywhere else in the episode. And I was like, well, it would be kind of cool. We have this giant choir coming in, get him to do something. So Princess Twilight Cometh was a very short a hymn, like kind of a religious hymn, I guess. Not really specifically religious, but it has that feeling of like import. And I just started working with a new assistant at that time, Trevor, and he has this background in vocal arranging. And so he took the melody and was like, hey, I know this choir. I know these guys at UBC, and I could do an arrangement of this. And I said, sure, go for it. So he did a beautiful choral arrangement of that. He's here. You should probably give him a minute.
Oh, okay. Was that another choir working with Monique Creber? Because I know that Monique had also worked with some of the other songs.
Yeah, no, this was a different section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can talk about that. I was going to get into sort of production-y stuff tomorrow when Steph's here and we'll talk about the whole recording process. But we could talk a bit about that if we have time to. So yeah, so then that song happens, and then she gives her speech, and then we wanted to tack on the Life in Equestria was exactly how it appeared in the script, and that was this bookend up the front. And then, boom, we had our completed episode.
I'm going to ask a question that I think a lot of people have wondered. Well, I mean, obviously you came into it knowing that you had a 22-minute or a half-hour episode to work with. Mm-hmm. If you had your druthers, I mean, I think a lot of us that I've talked to, or a lot of people I've talked to, including some of the writers, etc., thought that this should be a 2-part episode.
Oh, I think we all wanted something else from it, but I think at the end what we got was great.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Like we really, I think everyone felt that we had taken a difficult challenge and made something that we feel really proud of. So I don't want to get too much into what we could have done because...
Well, and that's something too, though. I talked to MA after the episode, and I said, you guys did an incredible job of packing a lot of stuff into that time frame and not making it too rushed. In my opinion, at least, I didn't think it was overly rushed somehow.
I think the more you watch it, it feels like the pacing seems better to me. Like the first time, it might be like a lot to take in because it's just so complicated how they get switched and back and all that. But yeah, I think over multiple viewings, it seems to actually make sense.
Now, last season, in season 2, in This Day Aria, you had a deceptive cadence in your song, a little secret little thing that they picked up on. Did you do something similar for this one?
I did, sort of. It wasn't a musical pun, but it was a pony pun because, I think most people have picked up on this by now. Art of the Dress from season 1 opens with that little mandolin line, ding, 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 right? And so when they're singing that What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me song, and it gets to Applejack, and now she's like doing Rarity's job, trying to make this dress, and like doesn't know what she's doing. I thought, okay, I just remember getting to that part of the song, and that riff came to my head, and I just started laughing. I was like, this will be hilarious because it's like a chromatic version, it's like a twisted version of it. So that's a little inside joke just for the really, serious pony fans who know all the songs well.
There are a few of those around here.
Yeah, that was probably it from a musical perspective that I can think of. I don't think there's any really extra little music puns that I was able to do this season, but yeah, that was that.
Going back to Celestia's song, did you, knowing that it was going to be Nicole singing for the first time in the series, did you take that into account in how you composed it, or is it more that you thought of the character and then went from there?
Yeah, well, what I would always do in this case is I start by writing the song for the character and not worry about who's going to sing it. But then I will definitely keep in mind who's going to sing it once the song is written. And so the beauty of, I think one of the reasons why it didn't work out to have Tara sing for Twilight was because we weren't living in the same city. And it was so important for me to be able to have such immediate access to these singers. Because what will happen is some of the songs are in really strange keys, and people are like, Daniel, why did you write this in C-sharp major or whatever?
Some of us who have tried to play, say, Art of the Dress or Winter Wrap-Up on a trumpet have noticed that it's in G-flat major, and it's like, come on.
Yeah, well, it wasn't written in G-flat major. None of the songs, they're all written in C major. But then I'll change the key to suit the singer. So we'll bring them in, and I'll have her sing it, and kind of just take the music and just kind of notch it, and then notch it around until it's like, oh, okay, that range seems to really suit them. And this is, it's something I think that doesn't happen on a lot of shows who have songs. And I know this because I've worked with so many voice actors. They'll go in and they'll sing a song on another show, and they'll be like, oh my God, I sounded horrible because it was so high, or it was so low, and it was maybe written by men and women. I really, really sing generally. Oh yeah. It was the wrong key for her, probably, right? Yeah, and that's, yeah, exactly. And so I write the songs where I sing them in my key, and I do not sing in the same range at all. I sing a fifth out from where a woman would sing most naturally. So a lot of the songs are kind of hard for guys to sing because they're kind of low for us or too high for us. But so I'll write it in that one range, and then I call up Nicole and I'd say, can you sing this over the phone for me? And I'll sit at the piano and just kind of get her strongest notes and try to. So that song was dropped to try to suit her range the best it could. Yeah.
You just admitted to something. I don't know if you noticed that you'd sing these songs as you're composing them. Are there recordings of this, and how much of a bribe would it take to release them?
My assistants are over there laughing because they've got this archive of embarrassing moments.
You guys and I need to talk a little bit later. I know some guys who know some guys, and these things can get distributed.
Yeah, I don't. I think the process of songwriting, you have to sing it as you. Sorry? You don't want that, trust me. I've gotten a little better. It's like weird over the years. Like I was really bad. And I know this for a fact because we use like an auto-tuning program to kind of tune stuff. And I tuned my own stuff back in the day, and I'd just be like, wow, I was like a whole key or two away from what it was supposed to be. And you just sort of be moving these notes into place, you know. Anyways, but I've gotten a bit better at singing, but not good enough to actually sing on the show or anything. And but yeah, I think when you're writing songs, to create a vocal line that feels natural for someone to sing, it's different than what you play on a piano. So it's really, I think, important to just be able, even if you're a bad singer and you're writing a song for someone else, which was the case, my case, and most of the time, was still to just try to sing it yourself and make it feel like good for your voice.
Well, and that right there, I mean, maybe that's going a little bit too much in the process, and you can talk about that in the future panel. But I mean, so you compose the songs though on the piano primarily, then, or do you change how you compose the songs? Like, for example, that the hymnal, "Twilight Cometh" song. I mean, knowing if it's going to be a choral arrangement, do you approach it differently? Do you press a different button on your keyboard to get that?
Yeah, well, no, it's definitely the medium I think the medium you use to write a song is important. Like, I write songs on several shows, and the styles change so much. Even on this show, the styles change a fair bit. So if it's a pop-based song, I'll play it on guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm more comfortable as a guitarist, actually. And so but if it's like a musical theater song, like to write what my cutie mark is telling me on a guitar, like I don't think I can play that on a guitar. So it really depends on the style of the song. So if it's going to be Broadway, musical theater, choral, I think the piano is the best way to approach that because you've got so much more chromatic language to work with. But with on a guitar, I sort of I just write pop songs. So I think I almost like have two sides to me when I'm writing, like the piano-based guy and the guitar-based guy, and I'll just make a choice. And sometimes they'll transition. It'll start on guitar and then switch over to piano.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I imagine some of them become hybrids in a sense.
Eventually, every song ends up in MIDI as a piano sketch.
Okay.
Because the biggest frustration when you're working in a corporate kind of world is that I'm not writing these songs for my own. I mean, I write them for my own enjoyment. I try to enjoy the songs, but someone else, a lot of other people have to approve the song. And so if you're going to go and write it and then record it and put in weeks and months of work and a lot of talent of various people you bring in to record instruments and whatnot, and then you send it off to the corporate body and the Hasbro brand and whatnot, and they're like, we hate this song. Then you're like, no. So
has that happened to you?
It's happened on other shows. I don't know if it's ever happened on Pony. I'm trying to think now. I don't think any song has ever been rejected, but there's been battles for sure. When Pinkie Pie's Smile song was written, I had a very different idea for that song than they had, and so that was gonna get rejected.
And we've talked about this before, but in that case, because I know these guys are curious, it was a pacing issue.
It was a pacing issue. So yeah, I had said the song too slow. And I know Jason wanted it really happy, like syrupy, sickly happy. And
it is Pinkie Pie after all.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I want it to be like, I want to feel for her character too, right? So we were having this argument, and in the end, we reached a happy medium. Everyone was really happy with how it came out. And a lot of that came down to Shannon just doing such a good job on singing that song. And also Dave and Stefan doing incredible production on that song. So like things have gotten close. Like it gets hairy, where you submit this thing as a demo. Because when I submit it, you can imagine now it's just say Pinkie Pie song with piano and maybe me singing or Shannon singing, and they're kind of like, I don't know, like it doesn't sound like that much at that stage. Like it doesn't. It's not ultimately where it will go, and you have to hope that these people are going to be able to hear it and have a vision for it and have enough faith in you that they're going to do it. And fortunately, on this show and with Hasbro, like they are those people. Like they really put a lot of faith in me, and they put a huge amount of encouragement forward, and they're like, even though it's a bad piano demo with me singing, they'll be like, great, love it, do it. And then that starts this huge production phase, which is a whole nother thing.
So for when you were working on the season finale here, with the number of songs that were included, did you send them all off to Hasbro as just one big glut of demo tapes, or did you get them independently or individually approved first?
No, I wrote them all. I just wrote it all alone for a week, and didn't show anybody anything. And then I sent it all out as a big batch of songs at that point. Yeah, that's how that was.
So you just overwhelmed them. They're like, okay, well, here's a pile.
Yeah, I was in constant contact with Jason and Meghan, and saying, okay, look, this is what I'm changing, and this is what I want to do, and they were giving me their ideas, and we were debating back and forth, and there was a process of all of us talking and collaborating about that. So yeah, but then the actual songs didn't get sent to Hasbro until I think it was a batch, but they were all piano sketches. Mm-hmm. Nothing was orchestrated or filled out. But they were all. We were very. We were far along in the process. So everyone was just like, okay, let's just do this, and so it just had to happen really at that moment. Yeah.
Well, I've got two questions, and I think I'll open it up to Q&A because I imagine you guys have some questions for Daniel as well. But first question is, and just to get it out of the way before somebody asks it, have you heard any rumors, or has Hasbro finally started thinking about perhaps releasing an official soundtrack to the show, especially after this season finale, because of all these amazing songs that have been out there?
Yeah, I get asked that question all the time, and I know everybody at Hasbro they love songs at Hasbro. I mean, like, we're doing Littlest Pet Shop now, and there's so many songs in that show, and Pony, they're always encouraging as many songs as possible. And so they're really behind the songs, and they put a lot of resources into it, frankly.
Yeah.
And we're hiring choirs, and we're hiring session musicians, and all these voice doubles, all that stuff. Like, they want the absolute best out of it. So it doesn't make sense why there's no soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they have toys that sing songs.
Exactly. But I think...
And when their batteries die, it's hilarious. Anybody see that Pinkie Pie? You guys know what I'm talking about. There was a Pinkie Pie plushie that sang "Smile, Smile, Smile," and there's a video online.
Like the satanic version.
Well, the battery's dying, so it's like smile. Yeah.
I could imagine.
That's how I wrote the original. It got down to the pacing. Yeah. So you were going for a demonic sound with that.
That was really the dark side of Pinkie.
But I mean, it almost seems like a no-brainer for them.
It's a no-brainer. But I think there's a lot. First of all, I think they have a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot. I think it's very complicated. Like, the voice actors are paid to perform on the show. They're not. I think in order for them to release a soundtrack, they have to do a whole series of complicated legal buyouts, and you got to look at the numbers and go, well, how many songs are we really going to sell, and is it going to justify this exorbitant expense of all of these actors being paid, like 6 actors being paid per song for 50 songs and put on a soundtrack. And I'm only just I'm just guessing at this, but my sense is that they really want to do it. Everyone thinks it would be a wonderful thing, but I just don't know if the dollars and cents ultimately make sense to them. So I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. We hope it'll happen. And let's just keep our fingers crossed. It's totally out of my hands.
Maybe with enough fan letters, you never know.
Maybe. I don't own any songs. I mean, I write the songs for Hasbro.
Yeah. Well, okay. So a penultimate question before we open up to Q&A. Was there a song in this episode, in the season finale, that was harder for you to write than the other songs? Something that stuck out.
The hardest song to write. I'm just thinking it's got to be between True Friend and What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me. Because those, just the concepts of those songs were so expository and so complicated and convoluted in what they're trying to say, that those two were hard. The rest of them were easy to write. But those two were the hardest, and probably True Friend was the harder of the two. I think I struggled with that a little bit. Because that was day 5 or 6 by then, or 4.
I like how you've got it all. The hell week.
It was a great week. I loved that week. It was
day
Christmas.
4.
It was snowing in Vancouver. It was beautiful. I was like in my place. I had my coffee. And I brought
day 4. Run out of Hot Pockets.
Right.
Working on True Friend. Considering the real meaning of friendship and if it's worth it. Send help now.
4-day beard colored, like.
You're going to become a Howard Hughes by the end of the process.
It was basically like that, sitting in the corner.
So the last thing I wanted to bring up then, and you mentioned it, that this was being written and composed back in December of 2011. I think this is a rumor that's been going around that the decision to have Twilight become a princess is something that was recent somehow. And that, right. I mean, I think in the end, when you look at the production, from your perspective and from the producer's perspective, it takes literally years to produce the show.
Oh, yeah.
But can you confirm for those out there that this is something that has been in the works for a long time and was always intended?
Yeah, I can't confirm that.
Okay.
But we certainly, I mean, yeah. I don't really know the working. I'm a simple songwriter. I don't know the brand intentions.
I mean, as in that this is not some
last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah,
that's
I mean the episodes get planned out years in advance. Well, yeah, like season 3 would have been planned in, late 2011, halfway through 2011.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, this is the last episode of 2000. Yeah, so I mean, that whole season was being written throughout 2011. So yeah, I mean, clearly they had that plan at least a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah. Can you, and last but not least, can you speak for Hasbro? Like
nope.
100%. Okay. All right. Well, if you guys have questions, there is a microphone back there. Obviously Daniel can't talk about things that have not aired yet. Mm-hmm. And there are things that have not aired yet, I think.
Yeah, well,
theoretically.
All right. Mine was pretty simple. When I saw Good Morning in Ponyville, it reminded me a lot of the scene in Beauty and the Beast of Belle saying bonjour to everyone.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Was there any inspiration there with that, or is it just coincidental?
Totally coincidental.
Okay.
I had that same thought too. I think what it might have been was the scenery.
Yeah,
that
probably
she was going through the town.
It was animated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that gets animated afterwards. I mean, I have a kind of vision. When I'm writing the songs, I'm always thinking about, like, how are they going to animate this? Like, what is that? Now, in that case, the script was very specific. Mm-hmm. And, like, Mitch had laid out, like, exactly what she does. And, again, that actually got even right down to her tap dancing on the table and stuff like that. So maybe he might have a specific vision for that. But I know musically I just approached it like, okay, a big, happy, orchestral musical theater thing. I didn't really think of any specific musical references, but thanks.
He just texted me.
What do you say?
He's like, lunch?
Hey, so in my head, this is kind of drawing back to the talking about the soundtrack. When you're writing songs, do you like, if you have a 40-second gap or whatever that you're going to fit a song into, do you write a 40-second song, or do you have an image in your head of a bigger song that you kind of trim down to 40 seconds?
Right. That's a good question. So what'll happen is we'll get the script and we'll sit down and have an initial meeting with everybody and say, okay, how long are we looking here? Because they can estimate a length of an episode by the number of pages, and per page of song will usually equal about a minute per page. So if the song has been scripted as 3 pages, it's like, okay, so do you want 3? Oftentimes, on other shows than this show, the script will only be like this little wedge of lyrics, like 5 lines. And this hasn't happened, I don't think, on Pony yet. But and they'll say, well, what we actually need is a 2-minute song, and this is a 30-second song. Or what we actually, and this is 3. A lot of times, like on this show, like I mentioned before, there'd be 5 pages of song script, and the song could only be a minute. So I just start from scratch, and I usually aim to fill whatever gap that they specifically lay out. So if they say, yeah, a minute and a half, that's my challenge. It's like, it's a puzzle. You're trying to say, well, how can I get this message across in this specific amount of time?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
And I never shoot to write a song that's so long it gets cut down. That's, yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Sorry, let me collect my thoughts. On the show, oftentimes the characters will, acknowledge that there's a song going on. Oftentimes, like, oh no, another song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any personal thoughts on how, I guess this sounds silly, but how song and dance, I guess, like factors into pony culture and society?
I think it's cute. I like it when they do that. You know, I like it when a song it's not just like they're talking, and then a song suddenly starts and the song ends and they just keep going. I think it's neat when they can sort of make it part of that world, and like Pinky often talks about how she loves breaking into song, I believe, and you know, and so I think that's I like that stuff. I like fourth wall breaking, or I like it when they can. I like it when dialogue and song kind of overlap sometimes too, and it feels sort of seamless. With this episode, one of the things we'll talk about tomorrow is Stefan will be with me, and we'll talk about how we wrote all the background music for the episode, and how the song themes, because we were able to do that episode, how the song themes we can incorporate into the score and have that blend into the songs and stuff like that. So anything that creates a seamless experience that immerses you, I think, is a good thing.
I think that does make this kind of a unique episode because, usually it's Will Anderson who's doing it.
Yeah, who's amazing.
Yeah,
it's not any slight to Will, of course. I mean, if anything in the I want to leave this till tomorrow, but in anything in the process, we really appreciated Will's talent. Like, we're like, how does he do this every week? We only had to do half as much score, and there was 2 of us. And it was really challenging, so yeah.
Have you seen the pictures of his studio? That's how.
Yeah. Gear, lots of gear. Yeah. He's just such a talented guy. What's your question?
Hi. So I was wondering, you said you wrote the finale songs in December, and I was just wondering do you always get the episodes like chronologically? Like, is finale always the last one that you write for in a season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the episodes are recorded with the actors chronologically.
Okay.
And so the aim is to try to record any song that an actor is going to sing the same day that they record the dialogue. Okay. Because they get just booked for that day and they're busy, right? So so they get recorded chronologically for that purpose. But sometimes, if we use a voice double, sometimes they can be recorded a bit later. But yeah, that's the idea.
All right, the inevitable question that just had to be asked. So now that season 3 has just ended and you can talk about the season finale, which song in season 3 is your personal favorite?
That's a good question. You know, the songs there's 3 songs in the season finale that I like the most. And so I really like What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me, just for its it's fun, and it was a challenge for me to write, and I feel like there's you can listen to it a bunch of times and get something out of it each time. I feel like Find a Way, the full version of that, I do like a lot because it was my attempt at trying to write a pop-based sort of song in the series. But I think Celestia's song, from just a pure songwriting perspective, might be my favorite. I just think that I like the piano music in that. I like the melody. So that's probably my favorite song. But the other 2 are close seconds.
All right, keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
Hey there. I was wondering, in some of the songs, like What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me, they have dialogue interludes. Are those already written, or are there any times where you write in regular dialogue interludes?
It depends. In that What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me, I don't think there's any dialogue in that song. I co-wrote the lyrics for that. I took sort of the concept that Mitch had, and he had that idea about them getting sunburns over top of frostbite over their sunburns, which I thought was hilarious. So that song I had to write it. But the dialogue on True True Friend, I added that dialogue. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking but thanks.
Yeah, I just added in, and then they change. They can change it. We kind of figure. But a lot of times we'll even ad-lib that stuff. With the actors to see what they come up with too. Actually, I shouldn't say that. We don't do that. We don't ad-lib with the actors.
Hello. You were saying during What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me that you were drawing a map for all the cutie marks. Does that exist anywhere?
No longer. It was a cocktail napkin in a pub.
I keep mentioning this. These artifacts, the money you could make off of them.
I know, probably. I think my trash, just the amount of sketch scores and like handwritten charts and like weird notes and stuff. Yeah.
If you look out in the street sometime and there's some, brony rummaging through the trash, that's me.
No. Yeah, you're gonna have a mask on. I'm like, I know it's you, Mike. I can see you.
Yeah, I had another question.
And it's the recycling bin, not the.
Do you ever use like unfinished songs that you have, and you say like, oh, this is a good song for what they have in mind, or stuff like that? Like, do you ever write?
Almost in every case, the song is written very specific for the episode. There's one case in my career where I wrote a song for Hasbro that was rejected that I used in a different show. But it was a theme. I wrote a theme for one show, and it was just a demo, and that didn't get used, and I had it in my back pocket, and then it wasn't on this series, but on another show. It was like, oh, wait a sec, this song they need is kind of like that theme, and it never got used, so it just became the impetus for another song. But in most cases, no, you just write it it's like something very special just for the show, and it doesn't have any use outside of that.
Well, this is something that even writers talk about, that sometimes they'll have a script for an episode or an idea in an episode, things get chopped down, things get rearranged or whatever, and that they can't necessarily talk about those things because those elements might appear somewhere else, something else they do later. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it's almost the same with what some of the stuff that you compose.
Yeah, for sure. And every once in a while I'll write something and I'll kind of go, oh, I really like this. Maybe I want to keep it for myself, one day. Because I don't own anything. So it's like I'm writing it as for Hasbro. But I never do. At the end of the day, I'm happy to write.
So what you're telling us is that there's a super secret song somewhere hidden away. That's the ultimate pony song that you haven't released yet.
That's correct. Waiting for the perfect day.
We were talking about bribes earlier.
I actually have a couple questions, but
That's
hopefully you can roll it all into one answer. So most of the songs for the show you do, they're either kind of like these Broadway show tunes kind of songs, or they're like a bubblegummy kind of thing, or sometimes they're both. But at the end of season 2 with This Day Area, it was kind of a big departure from that. So I'm wondering, how is your approach different for that one? And how much of it, the fact that it was a musical departure, how much of that was your idea, and how much of that was requested of you from Hasbro?
I have to think, so the question is all about This Day Aria. I have to think back hard now. That's 2.5 years ago I wrote that song. And it was the first villain song in the series. And, when it comes to the specifics of the music, no one has any input. I mean, it's really, that's essentially my decision to make initially, and then it has to be approved. So we knew, obviously, a villain song has to be dark, and it kind of goes back and forth where it's positive. That, I guess your question was, the lyrics for that were very well written, and so I just took the lyrics and wrote. I don't know. I never think of it as a departure. I guess if that song stands out in the series, I think it stands out because its nature as a song that's like a darker song. That prior to that we'd never gone there. I mean, My Little Pony is really a pretty happy show, right? And so the only people who were ever going to sing in the beginning was Pinkie Pie. And so the Pinkie Pie Laughter song and a bunch of her ditties early in this first season, that was kind of like, okay, the songs in this show will be Pinkie Pie singing, and that'll be it. And then from that to This Day Aria, where it's like, let's do this like fully fleshed out dark song. So that was written as a piano sketch, and Stefan orchestrated it, and his orchestration made it so epic that I guess it really stood out. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
Howdy there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Howdy. Question on how you do your development process. You mentioned that you start with piano sketches, but for the pieces that you know are going to become larger orchestral pieces, do you take it one step further? Perhaps with orchestral patches, or drop it into Logic or Reason or something like that, and do some bare bones orchestration yourself?
Yeah.
Or okay.
That's a good question. Definitely for the pop songs. I will always, I'll mock those up pretty well because I have to sell them to Hasbro. like not sell, but you know what I mean. I have to pitch them. So to make the pitch as effective as possible, I try to make the demo sound as close as like sound good. So anything that's kind of pop really needs some production, and I write everything in Logic as well. So everything will be. I mean, I might write it initially on the piano or guitar, but I'll put it into Logic. And so for the orchestral stuff, yes, if I think the piano sketch really does it justice, I won't bother. But I'll add orchestral elements like strings and some basic brass and things, and like to play the different themes if necessary. And then once the song is approved, I just don't like to put too much upfront work beyond the writing of it until it's approved, because so it's that funny balance between, okay, I want this to sound just good, good enough that they get it, but not so good that we've invested like so much work goes into the production of these songs.
Right. You don't want to hamstring Will.
How much work. Yeah. So then after that, then usually like Steph and I will sit down and have a really detailed conversation about the orchestration and go from there.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cupcakes. I don't usually grab a mic to say thank you, but I do want to thank you for going to bat with the Hub to get us versions of songs that aren't on the show, like full versions, and you know what I mean? So thank you. Please keep that up. We really appreciate it. Everyone really appreciates it.
Yeah. I was really happy. They did that with, thank you. They did that with,
what is it? The Love is in Bloom.
Love is in Bloom. Yeah, that was great. And I didn't even know they were going to do that. That was awesome that they did that. So hopefully they'll do that again.
And then, as someone who's both a watcher of the show yourself and obviously have a significant creative input, what character or characters who haven't had songs yet would you most like to write or be able to flesh out through song? And if you accidentally spoil something for season 4, then oh well.
Yeah, Seth's over there going Trixie.
Also,
Trixie.
Seth wants to know how many Trixie songs are in season 4. Double digits.
Yeah, I don't even want to say anything about what's coming, because half of it I don't even know, honestly. Like, I'm the last to know sometimes. But I do, just thinking purely abstractly, yeah, I think like a Discord song, I'm thinking about John Delancey, would be really cool.
That would be cool.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
2 questions also.
And a Luna song. It's got to be a Luna song.
Yes.
Again, this is no promise. This is just purely like, this would be cool, but yeah.
What percentage of songs would you say actually sees the light of day that you create?
Sorry?
About what percentage of songs that you create would you say actually sees the light of day and gets aired?
Oh, 99.9.
Oh, so you don't actually finish like parts or?
I see. Yeah, maybe 99.8.
Oh, okay. And
most of it gets fully rendered. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only songs that have ever been cut down were "Love Is in Bloom" and then "Find a Way" and "Morning in Ponyville." I think those are the only songs that have ever been cut.
Oh, okay. And one other thing, not quite music related, but you were talking about they rearranged the way that the Twilight got her wings and things like that. The way it actually aired, do you feel Twilight earned her wings and gained them through her own power, or do you feel like Celestia gave them to her?
Oh, she earned it. Oh, yeah, for sure. She earned it over the course of her life, right? It wasn't just that one event. I mean, that's what we tried to sort of kind of remember while we're doing this. And we had Celestia tell her, like, this wasn't just about this one thing she did. It was about everything that she'd done up to that point, right? To justify it.
All right. Thank you very much.
I've got a couple questions, if that's okay. First, what comes first in like composing? Is it lyrics or music, or is it like both at the same time?
It's a great question. Did you say another question?
Oh yeah. Also, do you know anything about like releases of like the background music, not just like the actual songs, but like the actual just background music? And also, do you do any music yourself, just like not pony music, just your own compositions?
Okay. So the first question, lyrics or music? I think you have to start with lyric. For me, it's lyrics, but it's close. Like, they're really close, and so you have this lyrics, and you have to have a concept for the song first, and then the mood will kind of come across in a bit of music, and then usually it sort of blossoms from there. So something will start with a line of lyrics, a little tune, a musical concept that's just the front piece. And then from there, I just kind of go, well, where does this need to go? And then each part, kind of what needs to happen next. And I build a song up linear, generally, and then come back and revise it. And lyrics will then change. It's like funny. Lyric starts with lyrics, and then melody slowly takes over, and then the lyrics start getting changed to suit the melody. And a lot of times, I'll just rework the lyrics to make the melody work. So that were inspired by original lyrics. So anyways, it's...
So would it be safe to say that you've kind of got an organic process to how you create a song, that you just kind of do it as it needs to be done?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Really, and I like to do it quick. I don't like to linger a lot of times. So I usually have it. I'll just try to do it in one condensed period of time. I know some people will write a song and they'll kind of walk away from it, and then they'll come back like a year later or a month later or whatever. I don't do that. I do it all in one go. And then and then your other question about the background music, I have no idea about that. I know they released the Transformers background music, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's possible, and certainly Will deserves it. I mean, incredible background music in the show. Yeah, I love it. And your other question was about what's the other? Oh yeah, I might do my own music. Yeah. So I write songs on. Little's Pet Shop and My Little Pony and Town Puppies a bit now too, and do all the background music on some of those shows. So I don't really have any time for myself. And I would love to do that, and I've done, I did an arrangement for Michelle Creber for her album, and that was great. Yeah. And she did a beautiful job of that, and I also occasionally get approached by artists to write songs for them, and I have every intention of doing that. So my plan is to write on the shows so long as I'm busy, and as soon as those shows have a break, then we're writing my own songs for fun.
Cool. Thanks.
This gentleman here has written songs about both Discord and Luna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we met.
Odyssey.
Cool. Yep, forgive me, my voice is a little shot. If you had an unlimited budget to write any one song in any one style for any one character from, actually, I could say just My Little Pony, but any one of your shows, in any style, just completely unrestricted, what kind of song would it be?
Limited budget for any character. I mean, I think it's really, the thing that I really want to see happen and I really like is when all the ponies sing together. Because I know season 2 is really based on, I mean, I love the music in season 2, and I feel like it was a lot of solos and duets. But there's this opportunity where we have 6 incredible singers, actually more than that, because a lot of the cutie marks, they're all great. CMCs are all great singers, and a lot of the other cast are great singers. We've heard that from Nicole and a few others. So I think unlimited budget would be to do some kind of song where they all sing, and some song about Ponyville or maybe or Equestria where they all can join in and do some big epic kind of number. That would be really cool. Yeah.
And hey, if you ever do a song about Discord, I'm always here for you.
Okay, man. See, I'm sorry I haven't heard it yet, but this is the thing I'm really looking forward to. He
knows how to howl at the moon.
Oh yeah.
Obviously not for long periods of time for me.
It's a remix of his song.
Oh, okay. I don't know. See, I have to really avoid certain things. I'm absolutely forbidden to listen to fan-made songs.
That's true of writers too. They don't read fan.
I never listen to fan-made songs. I only listen to remixes of my songs, because if you go write a Discord song and now say I had to write a Discord song, then I would be maybe influenced or something. I don't know. So I just don't want to. I'm not supposed to listen to anything, so that both the writers and I, because we're creating original content in such volumes that we don't, unfortunately. But I can't wait till the day that I'm fired.
There are a lot of ways you could make that happen.
Which might be after this panel.
We won't rush that.
And I can actually go and really listen to all these songs that all you guys have made, because I know from what I hear, even just from the responses and even just the remixes I get to experience, you guys are so fucking talented. You're so talented. So it's wow, there's so much great original music out there. I know that it's thousands and thousands of original songs have been made that have been inspired by this show. I'm super inspired by that. I can't participate in it yet, but I'm certainly looking forward to the day that I can.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we should we'll get these last 2 questions.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, what are the difficulties you usually experience in beginning work as a composer, with no reputation to speak of yet?
Yeah, well, it's all who you know, right? It's getting your foot in the door, because there's so many talented people out there, and probably people who are a lot more deserving of my job than I am, frankly. But
that's what we call Canadian modesty.
But so I'd suggest the thing to do is to make those connections, and a really good way to do that is just be very open and with everybody, and be very enthusiastic about working with new people. Like, collaborations are really a great thing, and you never know who you're working with, who's going to suddenly give you another opportunity to do the next thing. So for me, the break came, I was lucky in the sense that I had a mentor I was working for, and while I was working for him and he was doing a bunch of shows, my other buddy, Clinton Shorter, who has done the music for District 9 and Contraband this year and a bunch of other things, he was like, hey, someone just called me and asked me to write songs for this show, and I don't want to do it, but I know you might want to do it, because we were working, we were buddies and we respected each other's work, and so you just don't know what's going to take you there. But really, those relationships are the most important thing.
All right, well,
and work hard.
Oh, of course, thank you.
I think we got time for just this last question. Sorry about that.
Well, thank you. Final?
No.
Well, Daniel, first, the majority of the reason why I'm coming up here is to say I really enjoy all the songs from Littlest Pet Shop.
Oh, thank you.
So they're amazing, awesome. Oh, and that other show, whatever it's called. Ponies.
Pound Puppies?
Yeah.
The voice actors earlier were saying My Little Lizards.
Well, the reason, the Pound Puppies, on the episode Lucky Gets Adopted, there's a song in the melody of that Love Is in Bloom. Mm-hmm. So that came first, and then Love Is in Bloom came after that. Does that happen a lot?
No.
No?
That was, we were just talking about that last night. I didn't realize that Love in Bloom hadn't even aired yet by the time we put that source in. So I do the background music on Pound Puppies with Stefan. And that sequence, they needed like dance music. And so we were under the gun, and it was like, what have we got that we've done anything that's kind of dance music-y?
Maybe.
And so I just temped it in, honestly. I just temped it, and the directors heard it, and they were like, oh, we like this. And I'm like, it'll be an Easter egg. We also put Cutie Mark Crusaders in at one point, in Pound Puppies. So like, there's this badass guy who, although he's really cheesy. There's this character who's like this pickup artist kind of guy, and he's actually a really sweet character, but he's trying to be a Casanova. Mm-hmm. And so in his temporary transformation into a Casanova, he gets himself like a Trans Am and puts on like a leisure suit, and he listens to the CMC song. So we kind of threw that, and he just pulls up, and you can just hear the last minutes of the sort of guitar riffs going, and then it fades out. So I throw these little things in because it's all Hasbro's property. We can kind of have a bit of fun.
What TV show was that you were talking about?
That's all Pound Puppies.
Pound Puppies?
Yeah, that was Olaf turns into,
Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming to the panel.
And I just want to also call out Mr. Stefan Andrews, who snuck in the room as well as he could. He's sitting right there, so.
Yeah, so tomorrow, this panel is going to be mostly about, I mean, to cut off your applause stuff. This panel was mostly about like the season 3 finale initial process, but tomorrow Steph and I will do another panel together, and we'll talk more about our process and the other stuff we do in the show. Yep. So yeah, you just come back tomorrow. It'll be a different thing.
All right, thanks. Stefan Andrews, attention, Stefan Andrews.
He's going to sit out on this panel.
I know he is.
He'll come in once he's... Okay. Hey? All right, sure. Sounds good, thanks. Today I'm going to just talk about the season finale and all the backstory behind how that episode was created. So it should be interesting. Tomorrow we're going to talk about general stuff. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's not gonna be too many because everyone's over there, so we'll have our own little thing here. Yeah.
If you guys see me on the ground, help me up. Actually, yes.
We'll wait a couple more minutes, but then we'll start pretty soon. So how's everyone enjoying the con so far? Yeah, so this panel was going to be Steph and I think we're going to do that tomorrow because the stuff I was going to talk about today is mostly about the season finale and the stuff that led up to the season finale because there's a whole history that took place, which is kind of interesting. Not really, I'm just warming up. Oh yes, I sold my bugle to Mike.
Yeah, so I'm a trumpeter, and I was in Vancouver right when he was moving offices, and so I said, "Do you have any old brass instruments you're trying to get rid of?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And so for the price of a coffee and a little bit more, I bought his old busted up bugle, and I still haven't been able to identify it. I'm sorry.
It's pretty ancient, that thing.
It is.
Every part of it was pretty. It had very few distinguishing features about it.
It was missing just a solid half of actual tubing.
Yeah,
you can't play it.
Little compressed piece of metal.
But I get the distinct pleasure of being able to say I own Daniel Ingram's bugle, which I think I like to claim because I'm an arrogant bastard. I like to claim that it's it's the closest thing to a canon pony flugelhorn there probably ever will be, right?
Mm-hmm. It did have certain qualities that the bell was all bent in, so it kind of looked unique.
It had a very nice patina.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so anyway, everybody, Daniel Ingram.
Thank you. And thank you for coming here and not being with the big crowd. He wants to hear about BronyCon documentary and John Delancey, which I'd love to check out too. But anyways, thank you for coming. Hopefully it'll be worth your while.
I think that's the problem this convention has had. They have so many awesome people and only so much time to schedule people in. And so it's definitely been running around for all of us.
Yeah, there's a lineup for Tara Strong's signature happening right now too.
Already?
So there's anyone who needs to get in that line, I understand.
This is the waiting area for the line.
Yeah, this is actually that would have been a really good plan. They just should have lined it up through here, and then you would have sort of picked up.
That would kind of make you like a roadside attraction, though.
Yeah, that's okay.
Pit stops with Daniel Ingram. Well, so anyway, Daniel, you are of course the main song composer for My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, a little show, small impact, mild internet following. But you recently had an episode that just aired, the season finale, which I know you want to talk about, and I know these guys want to hear about, which was a glorious musical. I mean, I just want to start off by giving you at least some applause for that because it was quite a feat. So I guess my question then is, how did you approach, you had a season finale, and in that season finale, things had to happen to Twilight. Wings had to happen to Twilight, maybe?
Well, I'm going to go back a little further. Okay, so I know we'd always discussed, in season 3, let's try to do a musical. And premise for that musical was unclear. And then what they do with any season of a cartoon show is they create treatments. So they'll plan out the entire season in sort of one-page bursts. I really like that. That was actually one of my favorites because it was just so weird. Like harmonically, it's just doing all this weird stuff. And Stefan, who I don't know if if he's here, but he's going to be on the panel with me tomorrow. He did the orchestration for that, and it was just he really brought it to another level. And I know this when I brought in Shannon Chan-Kent to sing the demo. She was like, Daniel, what is this? Because it's all chromatic. The whole thing is like all these chromatic lines. But so that was fun. That was a fun challenge, and that was day 2. And then it hit day 3, and it was really like, okay, wait a second. Suddenly we have this problem, which is we have to build this sense of something really bad has happened, so that this can justify what comes later, that she's going to get these wings, and so there was the song that Twilight didn't have a song to sing at this point. She didn't have that. What she did was I actually thought it'd be kind of, if this was a longer episode, it would have been really neat to just go into all the, like, exactly how the life's changed, like to go back into the history and say, okay, now all of these, like, what would Equestria be like if they really had switched all the cutie marks? And we started to get in all these, like, deep philosophical conversations. Like, well, how would this work, and how would this work, and what if, like, Pinky, if I really grew up on the apple farm, and how would this, and we really, like, our minds started to melt, and we just said, okay, we need to not get into the logic too deep, and let's just get through that part. So we needed to find a way to make the emotional impact really important. So Twilight was going to sing a song where she just was going to sing about each of her friends and how much she loves them. So do you remember there's a scene where her and Spike go and she looks at this photo of all of them when they're young, and she gives this little speech, and that's when she has this epiphany. That little speech was condensed from the song that was going to be there. So it was going to be, she was going to look at this picture and sing about all her friends. And it was a very expository song about, you know, their history with each character. And I wasn't crazy about it. And I said, we really need a song here that's going to be something emotional, like that's going to show that this is really bad, because we only have 2 minutes for us to feel like this is a serious problem. Otherwise, we're not really going to know it's a serious problem, because we don't have time to actually show how a serious problem it is. So the Find a Way song was my attempt to make something like emotional, and that was going to make us feel sympathetic. And now that song shouldn't have been gotten cut down. So that was a 2-minute song, and now it's a 1-minute song. So in that 2 minutes, it got, I think, quite a bit deeper into this emotional import.
Well, even in that 1 minute, though, I mean, in my opinion, that's the most powerful song in the entire series, the entire season, I should say.
Like, well, this will be this episode, and so on and so on. And some treatments had been made for different musicals, and there's some really interesting ideas that had come up. But then all of a sudden, none of them got approved, and now we were at the 13th episode, and it was like, okay, well, I guess that's going to have to be the musical. And so that was sort of how that happened. And then the premise was put forth in this treatment that all the, that Twilight's, all these cutie marks. I assume everyone's seen the season finale. Okay.
Well, I have a quick question for you before you go too far into that. Whose idea was it to have the musical? Was that something you were pushing for?
Well, no, it was something that I guess it just sort of appeared. Like, I mean, they've been saying this since season 1. Like, we should do a musical because the songs are such a big part of the show. And so that executives just at Hasbro had always just been saying this would be a great thing to do. And so the writers were aware of this expectation to do it at some point. And so we were just looking for a medium in which to do it. And then somehow it fell onto episode 13. And we were really concerned about this, because not only was suddenly like, okay, well, Twilight's got to get wings, and how is she going to do that? Well, and then the idea was put forward, I think it was maybe by Meghan, that, okay, well, they're all going to switch cutie marks. And then she'll turn them back. And so we were really concerned about this, honestly, because I was like, well, a musical probably should be something funny and something kind of silly, and probably something without a ton of important plot points to get through, because really they're just going to sing a bunch of fun songs, and let's make it like that. So when I did read it, I said, can we please, like, let's try to make this, let's put musical on episode 12 instead of 13. And the directors and all of us were all a little bit concerned, honestly, because we wondered how we were going to make this work, because it's a very dramatic story point, and they thought, well, she's going to get wings, maybe we should make that a movie, or maybe it should be a two-parter, and maybe we shouldn't get distracted by a bunch of songs. So you understand the kind of challenge, the position you get put in there, where you're like, well, now it's all coming down to this, and we have to find a way to make it work. So that's how it got started. And the way the writers work is the scripts are all written and then it gets handed off to me for the songs, and then it gets recorded with the voice actors, and then it gets animated. So there's this sort of disconnect in a way as it goes through the linear phase. So I had the script, and we had some meetings and tried to figure out how to work. And I had 1 week to write all the songs. So I said, okay, well that's one song a day for 7 days, and it was a Christmas in 2000. It was Christmas in 2011, and so fortunately we had a Christmas break. And generally with these shows, I work on 4 shows, and we do one every single week, sometimes 2 a week. So it's such an intense turnover that just getting a week off is kind of unique. And I said, well, this week is going to have to now be doing this. So I locked myself in my place. And the first song appears, I'm just going to talk about the episode. So the first song that appears in that musical is the Morning in Ponyville song. And that was actually a much longer song. And it was really authentic to Mitch's script. And in that song, the whole town starts to sing. And so she's going through town and she's singing this, and they all join in. And it was written, and it was actually about maybe 40 seconds longer or something than what had appeared in the episode. But we recorded that, and then and then that had to sort of be put. Okay, that's one done, and eventually got chopped down because of everything that had to get fit in. And then we got to the next song, and already I was like, well, wait a sec, this Cutie Mark song is a really convoluted idea. Like, we have to sing a song about trying to explain how each Cutie Mark is now in a different pony, and how it happened. So in the script, it was actually like 5 pages, and it happened in a bunch of little songs all together. And we knew we couldn't do this, and so the Cutie Mark, what my Cutie Mark is telling you song had to be compressed, and it wasn't called that. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and recording into my phone, what my Cutie Mark is telling me. And I woke up the next day to write that song in day 2, and going like, oh, right, I got to compress 5 pages down to 2, and somehow make this one song instead of 5 songs, and that's how that song kind of got born. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
No, I'm not going to interrupt you on this because it's fascinating. I mean, honestly, well, this is something true of the entire series often, that you compose songs and flesh out songs that end up having to get chopped down for the show.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, I was impressed that, I mean, this is a 22-minute episode.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it and as I was hearing the songs as aired, I was in Minnesota actually at a party. I was thinking to myself, Daniel must be tearing his hair out because they had to chop down so much. Or was it more that you knew the framework and you had, say, a time set aside? So you knew, okay, I have 1 minute, 33 seconds or something to fill with music.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really know because how it's all going to play out timing-wise. You just have to hope. And I had a sense as I was going through it, I was adding up the amount of time that it would take. And, you know, with stuff getting chopped, fortunately on this show, very few songs have actually been chopped down. And this happened to 2 songs on this episode, so I'll get to the next one pretty soon. But at this song, it was almost like I had to chop the script down to make a shorter song, and that song couldn't be cut because it was so complicated. And I don't know, what do people like that song, the Cutie Mark Telling Me song? Thank you.